Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yuzral and welcome to part 7 of Clingin On. For those of you who are still clinging on despite my ineptitude so far in this series, well, thank you very much. Indeed, it is most welcome. Now, we're going to pick up pretty much where we left off, namely in the Kahless Expanse, although since I don't particularly want to get blown up by runabouts yet again, we're not actually going to stay there. First things first, however, let's get some paperwork done, specifically some of these duty officer missions that I set running back in the last episode, or at least when I was recording it. Ah, good. Captain at long last. Jumpok's hailing, so I suppose we might as well pick up. Doesn't really do to hang up on your Chancellor, after all. Now then. New starship, new abilities, and of course, bigger guns. We finally have access to Mark 8 gear. Kamen, who is Imperial Intelligence, also wants to get in touch. We'll shoot the incompetents who somehow managed to fail their own duty officer missions later. Let's see, what's up for grabs here? Ooh, yes, we're definitely going to be doing that, I think. But first things first, head to Kronos and get this bit of promotion business out of the way. Nothing else, with a bit of luck we can get a new ship. Okay, first city. How I haven't missed you. Oh, don't get me wrong, some of it's good. I mean, the bar's okay, you can usually get some decent fights on the challenge for. But ever since they let Ferengi onto the planet, the whole place just went downhill. People keep going on about profit instead of honour. Right, the Chancellor. Yes, well, I don't know what the High Council sees, but I don't see it. After all, the last time we were here, we were busy confessing as to just how we got an entire squadron of raiders captured after we botched that raid on Utopia Planitia. Still, we get to leave alive, which is more than can be said for some. Have a word with this guy on the way out and pick up a little chunk of dilithium. 2,000 ain't much, it has to be said, but for Mark 8 gear you can pick up a few odds and sods with a couple of repeats of that mission. And as I think I mentioned last episode, if I can be bothered to toddle around and do the Empire Defense run, well, that's another few thousand and a couple of guns on the cheap. However, there is the question of our new ship. So, what have we got? Well, there's this upgraded bird of prey. That isn't it. The Kitang is. Alternately, we go for the Raptor, heavy cruiser, and then we're into the Zen ships, which I don't really fancy getting. I don't particularly want to chuck money at this character just yet. Principal difference between the Raptor and the Bird of Prey. Well, the Raptor lacks the battle cloak. Once you decloak and engage, you're committed until you can get the red alert taken off. And it doesn't have the flexibility as a pure escort. On the plus side, you have an extra weapon slot forward, which is always good. Bit more hull, in fact a third more hull, and marginally higher shields. In addition, I think, yes, you get one extra lieutenant slot. Of course, you then have to stick with a tactical focus setup, but hey, we're Klingon. I mean, who cares about anything other than big guns and blowing stuff up? Answer, probably just about everyone who fancies living, but hey, there you go. So, the IKS Vorcha. Yeah, the name's ironic. The computer either has a sense of humour or the random ship name list doesn't take account of class, because really that should have gone to the heavy cruiser line. Now let's see, strip out the Navtor and the Toromar. In particular, we'll get those cannons off. If this will allow me to click and drag, there we go. Pull off the Mark 6 standards as well, and that torpedo. Definitely salvage the console since you don't get those new as standard. For some reason this game is occasionally picky about click and dragging, and we'll salvage that turret as well. Obviously we'll grab the efficient impulse engines, they're too good to let go to waste. And, well, that shield array might edge out a conventional Mark 6, we'll see. Obviously everything that doesn't come across also has to be salvaged, so devices, consoles and just about everything else. No point salvaging that Mark 6 disruptor array, and I don't think there's anything on the Navto worth keeping. No, there isn't. Right, let's decommission this. I'd say it was going to an honourable fate at the breaker's yard, but frankly, no, it really isn't. If it's lucky, it'll get stripped down for parts. Which culture was it that considered it a grave insult to die in bed? No, it was the Spartans, wasn't it? You had to die in battle if you wanted even a marked grave. Anything else, no matter how distinguished your career had been, well, nobody gave a damn, quite frankly. Now then, what can we load in? Dump the aft torpedo, I don't much care for those. Upgrade the forward cannons, we'll replace that dual beam bank, and that single cannon can go as well, because let's face it, the whole point of a manoeuvrable ship like the Raptors and the Escort is that you use narrow firing arcs and max out your DPS. Of course, if you're too cross-eyed a pilot to keep your guns on target, well, that's your problem and not the ship's. And why am I fitting a 0-point module? I don't have any quantum weapons yet. Well, I've got the mines, I suppose, but even with the upgrades they've had recently, those are still very much a, yeah, bit of a situational weapon. So, dump that console. If I can remember how to work the user interface. No real point loading particle generators either. I haven't got anything that really uses that skill. So, shields, doobie-doobie-doo, yeah, that is worth having as a replacement. The extra capacity from the covariant just about edges out the increased regen rate. Bleed through is identical, and hey, it's only 1 mark difference. I can live with the downgrade until I can get better. Now then, load up the devices, weapons, shield batteries. Now, I've got a shield battery there. Is that going to stack? Think about that in a second. Is that extra console worth trading off? No, it isn't, because frankly I know I'm going to be up against Cardassians and Federation in this next mission. Those batteries aren't stacking for some reason. I suspect that's because at least some of those batteries came with ships originally, and since they're levelling gear, technically they're different items. The nice thing about the Harpeng is that it's got an AoE attached to it. On the other hand, the damage ain't great, the refire rate sucks, and you can't make skills with it, so I suspect we're going to be better off sticking with these stock photons for the moment. Just about done here, I think. We'll dump that plasma beam array, since I'd only really be interested in that if I was going cruiser spec. No point keeping the Harpeng, it's a Mark 6 and I'm not planning to use it. And likewise, no point keeping the single cannon either. As I said, if I was going for cruisers, then 180 arc cannons might have a place, since it would mean not having to retrain a bridge officer into fire at will and or overload or target subsystems. But hey, if you're going cannons, you might as well not go for half measures. Clear a few inventory slots and we're done. Right, cutting out a bit of travel time. Welcome to the Donatu system, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think this ever featured too heavily in any of the series. I think it got mentioned in the Trouble with Tribbles as being essentially 2 systems over from Sherman's planet, which it more or less is in the game as well. So, let's kick this off. Skirmish, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, this was the first of the featured episodes, if memory serves. This was where Cryptic really got their writing and mission building skills into gear and began to demonstrate what Star Trek Online could do, as opposed to merely being go here, kill 5 random groups of enemies, yay you. So we have a 3-way fight between the Federation, the Klingons, and the True Way, which is a kind of unholy mashup of the Jem'Hadar and the Cardassians. Scatter volley, torpedo spread, make very quick work of that bunch. What do you expect? And at this point, since the other Cardassian wing is engaged, we can just turn onto the Axon, cycle in attack Beta and Alpha, fire on my mark along with rapid fire, and basically burn it down. The Axon goes down like a sack of wet potatoes. We've lost the forward shield and taken a few dings to the hull, but that's easily fixed. And we can move on to the Gallows. Much like Federation Science Vessel, Gallows have been known to pop feedback pulse now and again, so watch out for that. And we have a Typhoon that's making very solid use of trajectory pulses, and ouch! Ugh. I know the AI doesn't plan stuff like that, but really, if that bang from the Gala had been much bigger, that could have hurt. Anyway, the last of the Federation's going down, mop up that last Gala, and then I think all we've got left is the Prometheus, which doesn't seem to have come with its multi-vector mode, so pop. Only 1 to kill rather than 3, I'll settle for small mercies. And I don't think we lost anybody. Stavokor will be truly disappointed. Doubtless there are Klingons aboard that bird of prey who are cursing their luck, and no doubt telling their captain they should have rammed the Prometheus when they had the chance. Anyway, the Axon. Board them, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this old school. I really should have promoted some of my officers. Oh well, didn't have the skill points at the time, so I'll deal with that later. Right, straight boarding action. Wow, we made a mess in here, didn't we? Okay, Mark 6 gear, but it shouldn't make a difference. Bam. And off we go. First Cardassian this character's ever killed, probably won't be the last. Or even the last dozen or so. Right. Bang, bang, and that's the initial group gone in, I think it was, yeah, less than 30 seconds. They don't make Cardassians like they used to, ladies and gentlemen. Used to be a fight like that could last you at least a couple of minutes. Anyway, grenade in to warm him up. Then in the back, which may not be entirely honourable, but hey, who cares? Greatest honour is victory after all. One interrogator won't step in the green stuff. And let's just choppy instead. Not sure where that knockback came from, mind you, but didn't save him. Okay. More Cardassians. There ought to be another security team in here. Quietly hop that railing, there we go, and diving roll and smack. Got a little too clever there. Of course, the problem with melee now is that he can back up and get away from me. The AI may not be the greatest in the world, but it's generally smart enough that when it has 6'3" of enraged Klingon coming towards it, it has the good sense to not be in melee range, which in some respects is actually quite impressive. Okay, it's fairly basic. Get out of your opponent's active weapons range and stay within your own, but even so, a lot of AIs just don't have the brains to do that. So credit to Cryptic for having an AI that is at least vaguely sensible about the correct procedures when confronted by a 6-foot-tall enraged Klingon with 1.5 meters of razor-edged steel. And it has to be said that the attempt at an ambush does at least deserve marks for effort, even if it's doomed to fail in a universe where everyone and their dog can detect life signs. Of course, this isn't our starship, so I'd probably just chuck grenades around the corners on general principles. Anyway, let's face it, it's not like property damage in here is going to be our concern. Don't really want to be stood there, but oh well, not that it matters. Shields took the worst of it. Now then, I think we just ran out of Cardassians again. Yes, we did, so let's carry on. Don't step in the burny stuff, that's never a good idea. And plot twist, ladies and gentlemen. Not to mention lighting twist, and who will they twist? So, we'll finish off the last of the Cardassians, and then we have the classic bait and switch trope in full effect, because it turns out that all of a sudden we're not really going to be dealing with the Cardassians at all, but instead those mysterious blue-lit guys who seem to have a thing for neon, floating, and apparently sucking the brains out of Cardassians. Of course, now we've got to wait for the red alert to wear off, and I don't remember shooting that guy. Yes, I did see it. And, why am I using a Federation tricorder? On second thoughts, let's not ask. Obviously, we borrowed it somewhere, probably from that last farming colony we inspected while the bureaucrats were dithering on the appropriate response. Now then, this is a Cardassian sickbay? Well, they may not be cannibals, but that central area looks distressingly like a dining table. So, at least we don't have to toddle all the way back to the metal. He's very happily dead from the same causes, namely he's lying face down motionless in exactly the same pose. He's got all the signs. And apparently we have to go and do some readings, so let's see what we get. Little bit of a viz bug there. Okay. So he got himself a little bit cut up and then he had a stroke for no apparent reason. Either the doc's incompetent or something really weird's going on here. Right. So they had what looked like a viral infection that simultaneously got worse while they were being treated with an immune stimulator. Either this doc really needs to be taken out and shot, or just voided out the nearest airlock. Well, I can think of several other ways to deal with an incompetent, but... all of these Cardassians seem to be dying for readily apparent reasons that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Except for this chap who, despite being autopsied, had absolutely nothing wrong with him except a mysterious lack of life. So, right, so use Neuralite probes to get brain tissue. Well, that's probably worth bearing in mind. And yeah, so basically he's dead. Apparently caught a really nasty infection. None of which makes any sense whatsoever, so on the basis that we probably know better than the doc did, after all our expertise is in dismantling Cardassians, not putting them back together, let's see. Check this guy's cause of death. Radical decrease in the... So basically somebody ran his brain flat. Okay, now some sort of energy residue. Well, handily, what looks like the reactor core was straight across the bridge from sickbay. Now, I have no idea why Cardassians designed this. Presumably they expect a great many industrial accidents. And, well, let's face it, all ions are polarised, so that would be completely normal. So we'll just go with triolic waves instead. Oh, lovely. So, a radiation type that no Alpha Quadrant species uses is in massive concentrations on the bridge, and, well, it was headed for the bridge, then it decided to turn around and try and eat us before running away. Get back here, or we'll follow you. Right, definitely something very weird going on. It's got all the signs. The lighting has freaked out yet again. Yeah, blue light, ladies and gentlemen. If in doubt, that means Davidians in this game. Right. Happily, they go down just as fast as everyone else, even if that health drain of theirs really is irritating, and at higher difficulties can get pretty vicious. Happily, I learnt my lesson last episode, and we're not going to try this on Elite, not without Mark 8 gear and a fair chunk of backup. And actual competent teammates, which I'm not going to get out of my AI officers, and I'm probably not going to be able to supply myself, so we'll just stick to normal for now, thank you very much. Drop that guy, the rest are taken care of, and ooh, he's a bit bigger than the others, isn't he? Yeah, this could be problematic. Start shooting, guys. Keep shooting. And blast it. Miss with the grenade. Oh well. Just keep the shooting coming. Back up. Very, very slow kite around the bridge. Pop. 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 You know what? I'm getting bored with this. Right, let's just do this the old-fashioned way. After all, if we can go melee... I appear to be missing him. Apparently I'm chopping his ankles. Go for the weak spot, Kamuru. Go for the weak spot. Kill his ankles. Hack him down. Chop him up. Try to ignore the fact that your own bridge officers are lobbing plasma grenades in. And little kill stealing glory hogs. Still, the lights are back to normal, and I must admit, Cardassian bridges have a certain architecture to them. That isn't too shabby. Yeah. You know, as architecture goes, that's not too bad. Now then, let's see if the diary entries have anything useful. Dooby-dooby-doo. Only 7? We do that before breakfast. Talk about your permanent underachieving slackers. Unusual spike in Triolic wave energy. So that Dryolic was scanning Triolics. That rhymes. What is wrong with me that I am noticing that and think it is funny? Science Officer Dryolic. Still puzzled about Triolics. Yeah, no, that wasn't much of a joke to start with, was it? Anyway, that is that. So, the Cardassians are all dead, the Davidians are all dead. We're still breathing, we'll call that a success. However, it does seem that they're using the entire warzone for munchies, which we can't really allow to continue. So, for our next episode, ladies and gentlemen, there is likely going to be a distressing lack of violence. Because if I remember the next episode in this series correctly, nobody gets shot. So join me next time, ladies and gentlemen, for part 8, the most boring part of Clingin On yet featured. I'll see you then.